Welcome, everyone. I am Connie Samos-Buffer. I'm the director at Bicycle Garage Indy. And thank you all for coming. We have a lot of slides to go through. We're going to flip through as many as quickly as we can, but there are others that are not going to flip through as quickly. But hopefully it'll be all good information. I will also send you a link to these slides so you can have them later. And what else? And we're recording this, so I'll send you the recording as well if you want to share it with other people who would be here. And if you want to say a couple words about it.
Bob Weaver with Nora Alliance. Nora Alliance, for those of you who aren't familiar with our organization, is a group of neighbors. It's all volunteer. Our mission is to help build walkable and bikeable spaces in Nora and to create opportunities for engagement and to improve the built space overall. So how we're connected to this project or how we got connected, we've done several projects where we partnered with different organizations, developers, school corporation to improve sidewalks. One is goes underneath Keystone. Another one is out in front of the old Northview Middle School. So projects are like that. And then we have done a host of several engagement events along the Monon Trail. So we definitely consider the Monon Trail and 86th Street at the Monon kind of the center of our village. And so we have a lot of desire for it to improve, and really are grateful to Connie and her group and State Department of Health, SEBA, and other partner groups like the city who have come alongside and participated and really driven the project. So if I had a plaque or something, I would at this point hand it to Connie. But it's not over, so
No, it's not over.
That'll come later.
Yeah, so thanks to all of our projects that our partners on this project. And we received funding from the State Department of Health and from SEBA Foundation. So really, thank you very much. And we had lots of volunteers. So I'm going to do some introductions. We're going to do the presentation, why focus on Monon 86th Street, initial efforts that were done in 2021 2023, some pictures from our installation of our project at 86 in the Monon, media coverage that we got. We got a lot of media coverage. I'm not going to go over all of it. There will be a list of all of it. We're going to play one clip. We did a safety survey, and Butler University students in their data analysis class analyzed the studies and compared them and presented. 5 groups that presented, and we're going to do a snippet of one of them. We did a speed study. We did a traffic study video and data analysis. There were people who took videos, there were people who looked at the videos, and there was a person who collected all of the clips that we wanted in a compilation. So a lot, and then of that data, then there were 2 people who did data analysis of all the videos. So, and then we'll talk about future steps. So a lot of stuff. There is some celebration in there. Somewhere along the way, we have to, advocacy is hard. And if you don't celebrate the small wins and big wins along the way, then it just is, it just continues to be hard, and you have to celebrate the things that we have. So I'm going to do, welcome everyone. I'm going to do some introductions. Okay, so I introduced myself. I'm the Advocacy Director at Bicycle Garage Indy. I work on programs and projects to get more people on bikes and fitness opportunities. and got involved with this project, which I'll get into later. So it's kind of taken over my life the last 4 years. Let's see, and then Bob, you already introduced yourself. We have City County Councilor Brian Delaney, who's joining us. And State Representative Victoria Garcia Wilburn was going to come, but she just texted me just 2 minutes ago, and she's stuck at downtown. But we do have Senator Patty Fedora right here. So thank you very much for coming. Daniel Stevenson from the City of Indianapolis, Business and Neighborhood Services. Pete Fritz from the Indiana State Department of Health. Go ahead and stand up on here. When I say your name. So, Carol Terry, you're going to stand up. It's me, Carol Terry, from the Foundation. Anders Twyman from the YMCA, Gordon YMCA. Jason Davidson is not here. His wife is having her 40th birthday today, so he thought that it might be good to celebrate it with her. But he and his students were the ones who did the safety survey his entire class, so that was great. And then anybody who did anything to volunteer, please stand up. Thank you very much. We could not have, it took a village, and we couldn't have done our project, our little project, our little project without the village of everybody. So thank you. So this is Nora Alliance, which we've already talked about. Bicycle Garage Indy. By the way, I do want to say, Bicycle Garage Indy is a bicycle retailer. We've been around for more than 40 years. I have a very unique role in the bicycle industry as an advocacy director of a bicycle retailer. I'm the only one that I know of that is employed by a bicycle retailer to do the work that I do. And I have been given full support and carte blanche to work on this project. And so I'm very grateful to my employer, Bicycle Garage, for allowing me to do this and all of that. So I wanted to say that. Okay, so this is when Daniel gets to take over and talk a little bit about the tactical urbanism and art in the right-of-way projects.
Hi everybody, Daniel Stevenson. I am the Administrator of Strategy and Technology with the City of Indianapolis Department of Public Works. It's a really weird title. I'm sure you're like, why is this person here if he's a technology person? But my position resides in our Policy and Planning Division, and I oversee our Community Powered Infrastructure Program, which is relatively new to the city. It was officially launched last summer, actually, in its new form. Under Community Powered Infrastructure lies 3 different types of projects that community members can engage the city with to make improvements to their neighborhoods. So the first one is the Indianapolis Neighborhood Infrastructure Partnership projects. Those are actual 50-50 cost share programs between a community group and the city to bump your project up to the top of our capital programming list to do actual physical infrastructure changes. So that could be resurfacing a street, getting new sidewalks, repairing sidewalks. The list is pretty endless actually for that. The second type would be art in the right-of-way, which is one of the easier ones to understand. It's got exactly what it sounds like. It's art within city-owned right-of-way. So that could be anything from a sculpture to asphalt art, murals, sidewalk art. And the real purpose for art in the right-of-way is community placemaking, beautification. It does have safety benefits to it as well. But for the most part, under the art in the right-of-way policy, we're usually focusing more on placemaking and beautification. Then we have tactical urbanism, which is the most difficult of the three to understand. So at the heart of the tactical urbanism policy is really the city engaging with communities to tell us what problems are you seeing within your communities. Nobody knows the community like those residents that live within it. So we created this policy because we wanted to hear from our residents and work with you towards solutions. So what tactical urbanism allows a community to do is to work with the city to develop basically a low-cost, temporary project within the right-of-way to test different types of, the word is escaping me, to basically test different
design.
Thank you. To test different designs within the right-of-way to see how can we address the problem we're facing. So for example, it could be, we see a lot of speeding in our neighborhood. We would like to test a curb bump out to narrow the roadway to see if that slows down the speeds of vehicular traffic in our neighborhood. So there's a lot of different ways that a community could go about testing that out. You can use paint to paint out a bump out. You could put out planters to narrow that roadway. And then what we do is we work with you to collect data, both pre-installation of the project and post-installation. And then we take that data back and we use that to inform future permanent infrastructure fixes within your communities. So for example, with our 10th Street project with Community Heights, that was an extremely successful project. I mean, the data literally could not be refuted that the new design they built for that portion of 10th Street was incredibly successful. We have now begun design to be able to make that permanent change and create a more boulevard style layout on that portion of 10th Street. And then we are here tonight, for example, with this group to hear some of their data findings. And then we will take that back to inform future permanent infrastructure fixes. Otherwise, that was a very quick run through. There is a half pager on the table from us that walks through a brief overview of each of those project types. You can always reach out to us at reimaginerow@indy.gov. And then our website is also listed on that paper. So, thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, Pete, you are up next.
Good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Pete Fritz. I'm the Healthy Communities Planner with the Indiana Department of Health. We were a funder, partial funder of this project. We have a competitive grant program for tactical urbanism projects. We do call for applications about once a year, and we've done about 20 of these projects all across the state, from South Bend, Terre Haute, Fort Wayne, and they're all about $10,000 grants. They're typically these type of temporary projects that lead to permanent changes that support safety for walking and biking. I live in Washington Township in Ivy Hills. My daughters went to North Central High School, and this was their area. So, and I still live here, and it's been great to volunteer as part of this project and to be able to use our funding to make this work. So thank you for that. And we have another round of applications. If any of you are interested in this, Indianapolis has been an early adopter. We funded, I think this is our third project we funded in Indy, but we have applications that are due at the end of September. The grant is listed on the Indiana Department of Health grants webpage. I've got business cards that I can hand you and give you more information if you'd like.
Isn't it due the end of February?
End of February, I'm sorry, did I say January?
No, you said September.
September.
I just wanted to make sure I was.
That's when they're planned to be complete.
Yeah.
They're
They have to be
going to be
complete by
complete at the end of September. So these are summer projects typically that are kind of temporary leading to permanent change.
All right, thank you very much, Pete.
Good evening, everybody. So it's me, Carol Terry. I'm with the SIBA Foundation. I was the former president. not the president anymore, but some of you have probably heard of us. A lot of you have heard probably of the SIBA Bike Club, and a lot of people think that we are the same organization. We are not. We are actually we have a grant program as well. And so basically what we're doing is supporting projects that are basically putting butts on bikes. So that's what we're trying to do, is encourage projects that are getting people out on their bicycles. We like to look at focus on safety. It's one of the reasons that this project obviously captured our attention, and we continue to do that. So last year we gave away about $64,000. Part of that was a grant from SIBA itself. So SIBA is one of our largest funders for our grant program, and they gave us a grant. They granted us some money of $50,000, which we gave away in addition to the foundation money. So if you are a member of SIBA, the Bike Club, you are not automatically supporting the SIBA Foundation, so feel free to throw some money our way so that we can continue to support projects like this, like 913 Sports, the Riverside Riders, Black Girls Do Bike over some time. So lots of projects that we've been involved in. We are opening our grant cycle on March 1st. So if you know of a project, or you have a project that will encourage people to be on bikes that you want to consider for a grant, you should let us know. SIBA Foundation is the website. So if you have other questions, you can let me know. So the grant cycle opens on March 1st. We'll close on April 14th. And then we'll probably grant those sometime in mid-June. So if you have any other questions, I'll be around afterward. You can check them. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to talk about what we did at Monon 86th Street. So why Monon 86th? Well, it became a touch point for many bicyclists and many people who use the Monon when one of Bicycle Garage Indies employees, Frank Radford, was killed at 86th and Monon in fall of 2021. So which I've viewed that as a microcosm of a macrocosm problem. It happened at this intersection, but that doesn't mean that there are not other dangerous intersections and places where safety needs to be improved. So efforts to fix this intersection can help inform efforts to fix other places that are not safe. So there's an interview with the Star. They did a great series on traffic safety. And so in this presentation, there's a link to that, and I'm interviewing that. And I basically, in that interview, said if someone dies at an intersection, you don't do anything, what does that say about other intersections as well where people die? So it's a microcosm focused on, I've been laser focused on the Monon and 86th Street for 4 years almost, 3.5 years, because we need to be able to fix this so that we can fix other things as well. So these are the initial efforts. Did in 2021, we had a petition. We did this in spring of 2022. The City County Council voted to install no turn red signs at that intersection. They changed the signal timing to provide a trail-only phase. We held a ride of silence that highlighted that intersection. We did a citizen-led traffic study in July of 2022. It was the focus of the Strongtown's Crash Analysis Studio, their very first one they ever did in January of 2023, which was an hour, I think it was 2 hours of deep dive into this intersection, how can we do better. In 2023, reached out to Nora Alliance and we applied for the grant from the State Department of Health and CETA Foundation, and we were successful in getting them. We didn't get the permit from the city in a timely enough fashion to be able to do it in 2023. So we could have done it in September and had it up for 6 weeks, and that didn't seem reasonable. So we ended up reapplying for, closing out the state grant, getting it reapplied for 2024, and getting the permit and everything. And so we finally got to put our stuff in June, last year. So initial efforts with our citizen-led traffic study, we had 5 hours of video, and we really focused just on the crosswalk of the Monon. So we can't really truly compare this study that we did to the study that we did this year, where we did looked at the entire intersection. But we can probably compare some things, if you only look at the crosswalk of the Monon. We had a lot of media coverage. There's 3 pages of links later on in this presentation that I'm not going to show you. But we got a lot of media coverage. This is our draft concept. And pretty much this is what we did. So the green lines are the rumble strips that we put in. The city said that they would put in the crosswalks, which they did 2 of them. They did the one on the north side and the one on the west side of the intersection. The south side is still our temporary lines there. We put in a crosswalk where the bank is, the blue lines up there. There's a temporary crosswalk by the bank exit. The dashed lines, I don't know if you can see the little white dashed lines for the left turns. Turn lanes, we added those to have more delineation when somebody is coming up to the intersection. That was a recommendation from DPW. We were not allowed, much to my chagrin, to do planters. I really wanted to do planters, but we did temporary bollards, flex posts. Side note, I think we've done planters. They might have lasted a lot longer than the flex posts. We did curb bump outs with marking tape, and we created some pedestrian refuges in the north sidewalk and the Monon crosswalk. We learned things along the way. We did not get to do the trail crossing in the lanes. I'll talk about it a little bit later, or the Monon logo. We weren't able to do that. So we just had in the lanes themselves just the rumble strips and the dash lines. And then we put in railroad tracks along the 2 sidewalks. So this is really a 2 projects. It's art in the right of way and safety. And some people thought, oh, well, you have this art, that doesn't do anything for safety. Well, it wasn't supposed to do anything for safety. It was just supposed to be art. So we had, the railroad tracks and some art along the way. So we did a lot in 2024. We got our grants reallocated. We installed stuff in June. It was a really hot weekend. We did it in June, but we all survived. We did the art in the right-of-way installation June and July. We did a safety survey prior to installation, a safety survey after installation. We got like close to 700 responses to the first safety survey. We only got like about 200 to the second one. It was kind of difficult to compare them because there were 91 people who did both. And there were some of the Butler students actually took those 91 and evaluated those specific 91 people. But they also got a lot of good data from what was given. We did the speed study in January of 2023, and then we compared it to August 2024. We took videos, and we past 2 to 3 months, we've been evaluating the videos and data and all of that. So here we are today. These are some of the pictures from installing some of the stuff along the way. Curb button, that's the pedestrian refuge in the middle of the north crosswalk. So this, we didn't have the crosswalk in there, but I do have on the crosswalk. So now there are actual permanent crosswalks in this north side of the intersection. Those were our temporary lines. And then we put temporary lines on the south temporary crosswalk. And the south sidewalk is really, really long. It took a long time to paint it. So we put in 13 flex posts. Within 2 days, 5 of them were gone. We got more flex posts, and we had to use a blowtorch in order to reinstall them. So it took a little bit of time to get that. So 2 weeks later, we reinstalled everything. And when we went to reinstall them, of those 13, only 2 were standing of the first 13. We reinstalled everything, got new stuff. Those went away, got damaged beyond repair for some of them. So these yellow ones that you see in this picture, that's what we installed. The orange ones is what we went to later, because we could put them back up, didn't need to use a blowtorch to put them back up, and new. So anyway, if you're going to put temporary flex posts, use the orange ones. They're a little bit easier to stand back up. So this is a picture of all the flex posts back where they're supposed to be. We also, when we reinstalled them, we moved them back a little bit. We spent 2 hours watching vehicles, and we spent that time positioning those orange ones to see if they would be okay where they were. And once we were kind of solidified that we thought, okay, it's slowing them down, but it's also not knocking them over, and then that's when we put in the orange one, or the yellow ones. And that lasted a little bit longer, and as time went on, fewer and fewer got hit, and fewer, like there were still 10 standing in September. So not of the yellow ones, but there were still 10 of the 13 that were there. This is the sidewalk art, so we put the railroad. Railroad, and then we had all these stencils of really cool things. So Nora Elementary helped us with some of the concepts for that, and then the YMCA folks solidified what things we were going to do and came and painted them. And so that was really fun. And then we had to take out rumble strips. And these are some of the volunteers organizing everything. I could not always remember to take pictures, so I was very thankful that others took pictures or reminded me to take pictures. So a lot of these pictures that were taken, I take 10,000 pictures a year, but I didn't have the bandwidth to take pictures or anything. So I was very thankful that other people did. So we had media coverage of when we put our project in, and the fact that multiple bollards got damaged. We got more media coverage. During our project also, IMPD did a enforcement of no turn on red for, I don't know, a week, something like that. But wasn't necessarily in conjunction with that project, but it happened. And this is one sample of one of the meetings.
It's been more than 2 weeks since a new safety initiative started at 86th Street in Monon. The intersection is considered one of the most dangerous crossings in Indianapolis.
Yeah, that's why volunteers added some yellow bollards and rumble strips. They were trying to slow traffic. But as our Marion County reporter Lauren Kostick explains, drivers are now doing more damage than good.
Since this project started, 11 of these 13 bollards have been damaged by cars. The whole point of this project was to make this intersection safer, but it's also proving just why it's so dangerous.
Just last month, several bicyclists and pedestrians told 13 News they're frustrated with the crossing at 86th and the Monon.
It's so bad. It's so dangerous. Every time I come over here, I feel like I'm gonna get hit.
I kind of almost stare them down to make sure that volunteers launched a tactical urbanism project to slow down traffic on the busy road. The volunteers bumped out curbs, added rumble strips, and yellow bollards to alert drivers of the changes.
Within 2 days of installing the bollards, 5 were already down.
Connie Zabo-Schmucker is the advocacy director at Bicycle Garage Indy. She and several other volunteers went back Tuesday to reinstall the bollards, only to find
Only 2 of the 13 bollards are still standing. Only 2.
one is still missing and another is damaged beyond repair, costing the project about $1,000.
So you have to understand that every bollard that's hit, that could have been a person standing there.
Also this summer, Indy DPW is applying for a federal grant to add a pedestrian bridge to the crossing. The application was submitted last month with community input, but Connie says pedestrians can't wait, saying this project is more proof that permanent measures are needed sooner than later.
We need to make that intersection as safe as we can right now.
And this project will be here all the way to September with plans to add more to it throughout the months and to also do a study. In Indianapolis, Lauren Kostick, 13 News.
So that was just one of the many clips that we got. We got a lot of media coverage of the project and of the fact that something needed to be done. So beyond what we did.
It's good editing where they had the girl running behind the car on that last clip.
Yeah. Okay, so we had the data analysis class at Butler University did an analysis of the 2 different safety studies to see if there was any difference in perception of safety prior to the intersection, our project being installed and when it was installed. So these were the questions that they looked at. And this, see if I can get this. So.
Differently, and I asked it how you guys get that. So you can't compare the direct correlation between those two, which is what you see in this bars around the right percent change. But it's almost better to compare each again.
Do that.
Put it differently, and I asked it how you guys get that. So you can't compare the direct correlation between those two, which is what you see in this bars around the right percent change. But it's almost better to compare each against itself. So for each of these categories, we have an average score right here from the spring data. Say for narrow turn lanes, the average support would be 3.6. But overall, in all 5 of these aspects right here, the average is 4.19. So this metric right here, this analyzes the difference between the average of each survey. So that's what this does right here. You can see, we'll get to the slides in a minute. You can gauge the effectiveness.
So you notice there's crosswalk encroachments here. People are, this person was in the crosswalk and that person turned in and they had to back up. People, we had a lot of crosswalk encroachments, mostly eastbound because it's
Yes.
you know, that person is encroaching, but all of these other cars are running red lights, like it's already blocked.
It's so red.
Yeah, it's like totally red. And this person has to walk around the back part of beside us, while encroaching. More red light runnings. So what I found is that the cars that are waiting to turn left, because there's so many cars that are running the red light, they're stuck there, and sometimes they don't ever get across, and so then they end up blocking the crosswalk.
Right.
And this happened because of an Indigo bus stop. People all got stuck in the crosswalk.
They should just keep moving.
And this one I love because the people go across and then they think about backing.
Oh, I'm gonna be in this crosswalk.
But you have to,
So just out of curiosity, did they ever get an incident where the cyclists and walkers were disobeying the lines? Oh, no, that would be the most dangerous.
there was one.
I see it all the time.
There was one. But I was amazed actually at how patient people were. I mean, there were crosswalk encroachments and people were stuck on one side and had to wait another light sequence because they couldn't get across. That was a UPS truck, or a USPS truck. Yeah, and then this one didn't even stop. This is during the trail-only phase. Now, I have to explain this. So there is one phase in the intersection where all the lights are red, and there's a walk signal for the Monon. Okay? So during that trail-only phase, a lot of these things are happening. That's when people are supposed to be able to walk on the crosswalk without any traffic. This is a U-turn during the trail-only phase. Almost a collision. So, yeah, videography and, thank you, Matt, for putting this all together. Matt is here. Get back to my presentation. All right, so now it is.
Everyone, I'm Patty Schmucker. I'm director.
Oh, hold on.
Welcome to Bicycle Chamber.
I got something else on. Sorry. Okay, now we're ready. Okay, so I'm going to turn this over to Sonia. Do you want me to click?
I will.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sonia Seibert. I am a cyclist and a volunteer and somebody who was actually impacted by a near miss at this intersection. So I'm going to go over the data from the study. I'm going to invite Connie to chime in if I miss anything because she's much more immersed with the data. So, as Connie's already mentioned, this was the data that was analyzed from the 6 hours of the volunteer study. We're going to look at some of the key findings from that, along with some insights and the trends, which I think you can see very clearly from the video. Again, it was over a 6-hour period that that video was compiled and we pulled the data out from. Here on the right column, or the left column, is actually, oh, you fixed it. I think I had that wrong before. Oh, it's cyclists and bicycles. The left side should be pedestrians.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, so you can see that there's more pedestrians that are traveling southbound. And the same is true for the cyclists. So, an average of 17.83 per hour of cyclists traveling southbound. But still a pretty high number traveling northbound as well. And then looking at our sidewalk users, so a good number of sidewalk users, 72, during this period of time. In the chart, you'll also see that there's one scooter that that's using this north sidewalk. And then with the bikes, we're averaging 1.3 an hour going west and 1.17 going east. So these are the new walkways that are going across the.
Yeah, so these are the crosswalks. There's a sidewalk that is on 86th Street on both sides, the north side of the road and the south side of the road. And so these are the people who are using those sidewalks and crossing in our new crosswalks that we put in there.
And now it's the data for the south side, so it's still quite a few people using that, 42 total during this time. Again, this is a sidewalk and they have another scooter. So
could be the same scooter.
Could be going back home. But definitely a multi-use trail and things that we have to be mindful of. We're looking at ways to fix this. So a high number of pedestrians as well as bikes going east and west.
And I will say that we weren't always filming both, the entire intersection, so we didn't catch maybe all of the people in the south. The south people were actually hard to see because there was a lot of traffic that was, because when they're crossing is when there's traffic going, because that's when they have the walks in. And so it was, most of the time when I was looking at the videos, I was like, oh, this is when the cars are going, I don't have to pay attention, I just have to pay attention to the trail I'm moving. And so we probably missed a bunch of people because we couldn't see them or, couldn't, that wasn't necessarily the focus initially. Yeah, so another person helped with the video observation. And after I started going through the first hour that I did, it was like, there's other things that I need to look at. And so I had to add stuff to our checklist. But anyway, pedestrians going east and west was one.
So just to highlight some of the particular behaviors, really high number of the right turn on reds. Again, it was pretty obviously highlighted in the video. The left turn on red violations, and then the crosswalk encroachments. Pretty blatant right there, the crosswalk encroachments. So definitely some room for improvements and some areas of concern and overall safety at this intersection. So breaking it down, 90 incidents of a right turn on red, and that's just north to east.
Oops, sorry.
And then the second highest of the right turn on red is south to west. So really high. Again, keep in mind this is over 6 hours. And then the left turn on red, pretty high north to west, and then east to north again. But the other directions are also pretty dangerously high. And then the crosswalk encroachments, that east is 29 incidents, and the south coming in second there at 14.
You were counting the people who ran the red lights, right?
What's that?
The people that ran the red lights that we were seeing.
Yeah, we have that somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the U-turns, so 6, going east to west and 4 going west to east.
Yeah, doing U-turn. So Jeff Larson put together this graphic. Has some of that same data, only it shows which directions. And this is the trail-only phase. So when I was talking about, there's a phase where everything is red. These happen during the trail only. So what Sonia just talked about was what we saw. Didn't matter whether it was trail only or not. This is trail only phase. So the time when the people are supposed to be able to go across the trail safely, this is what's happening.
And this is basically people, I'm in the car, and I look and I don't see any plates coming, saying I violated, is that correct, pretty much?
Yeah.
Or did you get any near misses in any of these?
There were some near misses, and we had it actually on video for one of the right turn on red. There was a bicyclist that was already coming across. And, yeah, so there, yes, there are. And there are a lot of, the problem is people can't see whether, if you're on this bottom turning right to the south intersection, you can't see anybody from the So it doesn't really matter whether you see anybody or not, you're not supposed to turn right away. And then this was encroachments and running red lights per hour. And these were the directions that we looked at for this one that impacted the Monon crosswalk itself.
Did you do a study of whether most of the violators are civilian vehicles or they delivery, like you should have post office van? Did you have a sense of whether they're
I think they were mostly regular vehicles. I didn't, except for I think that the mail truck stuck out because it was like the mail truck did this, didn't even stop. But and that's a normal run for them. So that's even more, makes me even more angry because that's something that they do every day.
Because I think if it were kind of a mix, that you might have different solutions than if it's just civilian vehicles.
Yeah.
Along with what you said.
Yeah, so when we were looking at the intersection, trying to figure out where we might replace and reinstall the bollards, we really semis pull them. And the semis were great. They actually really turned correctly and didn't hit the bollards, or mostly didn't hit the bollards, I think. So, conclusion. This is from Jeff Larson. Every hour, an average of 31 dangerous, illegal motorist behaviors directly impact the Monon Trail crosswalk during the trail-only phase. That translates to an average of 0.46 dangerous incidents per trail user, meaning 46 out of every 100 trail users are dangerous. Nearly half, according to So when people say this is a dangerous intersection, I think we actually have data that kind of says that, yes, this is a dangerous intersection. This is going fast.
So, yeah, as you can see, cyclists represent the largest group of users. So we had 193 crossings and 101 pedestrians. Right turn on red is a really big infraction along with the crosswalk encroachments. And then the trail only phase, especially that red light running and the encroachments, really highlights the need for some stricter enforcement. So definitely the need to enhance the usability of the trail in this area. And it underscores the importance of prioritizing protection. All of that, the Monon Trail, I mean, it really is part of the transportation network, so I think this is really important.
I would like to thank Sonia and Jeff for their help with the data analysis. Really, I said, here's data, make it make sense for people. So, and I think they both did something different, and I think they both helped out. Okay, so this is actually a slide from Strong Towns of this intersection with some suggestions of why it's not necessarily a safe intersection. The stoplights are hard to see, there's extraneous signage, there's long delays. When I said that bicyclists and pedestrians were patient, they usually have to wait about 2 minutes if they get there when the light, and, when the crosswalk is not a walk signal. And, which makes it even worse if the sidewalk or the crosswalk is encroached, because then they have to go around, or they have to wait until they feel it's safe to go across. So we have a whole bunch of recommendations, obviously. There are, like what I said before, place a pause between when the 86th Street traffic is red and the trail only phase, or change the phases of the lights so that that can follow it. One of the things that we were wanting to have is trail crossing at the travel lanes, actually in the travel lane. And widen the Monon crossing and explore raising the crosswalk. Install wheelchair bumps at all the corners. Bump out the corners so that you actually have staging area, which is what we did during the project. Add guidelines for left turns in each direction. So when people are turning left, especially out of the south parking lot, they were coming way too close to the bollards. And we found when we were marking stuff, the intersections or the corners don't line up with each other at all. And so when you're on the northwest corner and you're waiting, the crosswalk's over there, actually, and you're waiting here. And so we bumped it out to be even with the crosswalk. But even then, it doesn't really go directly across to the south side. And then same thing with the north and south on the other side. We didn't put crosswalks on all 4 directions because there's actually not a signal, a walk signal on the east side of that intersection. So we put it on the north, south, and west parts of the intersection. There are all sorts of recommendations from Strong Towns Crash Analysis Studio. Immediate, interim, long-term, fully recommend looking at that.
Is that at the lake?
Yes. And and then I think if you make left turn signals at 86th Street, especially for the eastbound traffic that is encroaching on the sidewalk or the crosswalk all the time, if you make it a left turn only signal and they can only turn left when they have a left arrow, then they won't be trying to go when there's a space for the eastbound traffic, and you won't have to wait for these cars coming from the east to go through and possibly get stuck in the intersection. So it's a left turn only and it can't go left any other time, that might help that.
Suggest a no U-turn sign too.
Yeah, no U-turns.
And go into the mall. I mean,
And onto the mall, it's a parking lot.
Turn around.
So, let's see. So, results of the advocacy efforts so far. So, all the work from 2021 to 2023, we got a new complete streets ordinance in 2022, which has a little bit more accountability. We have a trail zone ordinance, so at trail crossings, they can put signage 20 miles an hour or do other things to slow down traffic where trails cross roads. Vision Zero ordinance, which just got passed this last year. And for the first time, the city of Indianapolis is actually actively looking for funding for a bridge. So they applied for funding from the NDMPO in 2023, I think the year's right. And it was voted not recommended for funding at the April 2024 meeting. However, the city applied again and is now currently recommended for funding for 2030. And so it's not set in stone because they have to vote on it again this coming April. And it's 2030. So there are different pots of money. Let me see if I can explain this. Different pots of money that the NDMPO can put projects into. So there's something called Surface Transportation Block Grant that is pretty much a general fund, and you can use it for a lot of different things, including a bridge as well. There are CMAP, which is congestion mitigation air quality, could be used for that. There are transportation alternatives, which just usually comes under bicycle, pedestrian type things. HSIP, which is Highway Safety Improvement Project, I think. And, so for safety purposes. So all of these different funds, there's different buckets of funds. This has been placed in the transportation alternatives bucket, which is smaller. The big pot of money is actually the surface transportation block grants. When NDMPO and the state Department of Transportation had an agreement that the federal money that flows through the state and goes to the NDMPO, they would replace that with state money so it would be quicker for them to complete their projects. And NDOT is still doing that, but they carved out transportation alternatives from that agreement. So now that is specifically from 2028 on. Transportation alternative funds are federal funds, and you have to go through the federal requirements to access those funds. So when the NDMPO said, okay, we'll recommend this, but guess what? We can't use our state funds that we get. You have to use federal funds, and it's going to take you longer to be able to do all of those all of those things that have to do for federal. So that's why it's 2030 and not 2028. My recommendation is that we advocate for them to use other funds that would move it soon. But right now, that's where it is. I'll get to you.
Sorry.
Development of other trail crossings. So, the trail crossing that we wanted in the lanes, guess what? It's being used elsewhere. in the Nickel Plate Trail at 65th Street and 56th Street and Kessler has trail crossing in the lane before you get to that. I was going to the grocery store on 56th Street one day, and I went across where the Nickel Plate is coming, and there's trail crossing there. I was like, awesome. They also have 20-mile-an-hour zone. So there are other trail crossings, other streets that are now getting trail crossing in 20-mile-an-hour zones. Hopefully, Monon will also be one of them, but right now it's not. And then we're getting some good press from Strong Towns of the things that Indianapolis is doing to make its streets safer after a fatal crash review team, as well as the Tactical Urbanism Lending Library, which I really wish we had when we were first starting ours, because they have materials that they can loan out to groups to do that. So we wouldn't have had to get a whole bunch of this stuff.
We do appreciate your action materials.
Yeah, so we gave them our leftover materials. I finally got them out of my office. My office looked like a construction zone for, I don't know, 5 minutes.
Longer.
Yes, Steve?
Well, first off, I think everything we've done is absolutely unbelievably wonderful. And if we saved one life, or half a life, it's just fantastic what we've done. But the elephant in the room is, we need a bridge, we need a bridge, we need a bridge.
Yes. So, these are our future action steps. First, advocate for an interim project to make permanent infrastructure changes until a bridge is built. So, if everything goes to plan and federal government gives money, and the NDMPO gives money towards the bridge at Monon in 2030, it means we probably won't have a bridge till 2031 or 2032, okay? We still have to do something at this intersection. We can't wait 6 years to, and a bridge is only going to fix the Monon crossing. It's not going to fix 86th Street crosswalks. There needs to be something done at this intersection. So, all of you, contact your city, county council, your state legislator, whatever, to ask for funds and design work for an internal project to make something of what we did permanent. Yes.
Is there anyone here from Indy MPO?
No.
The MPO?
No.
Okay. The last time I looked, and it's been a while, so it could be different, they didn't classify this area, Nora, as kind of pedestrian ready. And they weighed the projects based on areas that they consider kind of pedestrian areas. So one of the things that I think in terms of advocacy that we might do is to also try to get the Indianapolis MPO to classify this area as a pedestrian area. I mean, the city's comprehensive plan has it as a village area, and we know with all the studies that you guys have done. But I think it can influence kind of the downstream decisions about funding. So that would be one thing. And then I watched this downtown video, and like the project that you've put in place and the 4 years that you've dedicated your life to this county is just really amazing. That video that Strong Towns did, it's long, but boy, it was really good. And one of the things that really stuck with me about that was, even with a bridge, and we've said this a few times, and I think there's only one comment in the whole series that I disagreed with. Somebody said people are lazy, they won't always use the bridge. And I disagree with that because people are efficient. There's a lot of pedestrians, and there's a lot of reasons to be in Nora. And so we, like anything that we do today to work on that crosswalk is going to be good for decades. So the bridge won't just solve the it'll help quite a bit, and particularly with bicycles and, when you're really traveling. But there's a lot on the street level pedestrians that need solved.
Yeah. I have 2 more points. So, number 1, advocate for it, improve project. Second is, when it comes time for a final vote in April, there will be a public comment period. It is very important to write public comments and say that you support the bridge in 2030. And ideally, you support funding the bridge sooner than that, at least in 2030. Because it's not a done deal, it's close, but it's not a done deal. It's the closest we've ever gotten, but it's not done. And then advocate for the city to continue to look for other funding options to get the bridge built sooner. I believe there could be money spent to get this bridge done sooner. But it's more political will that needs to be done. All right, so I think I'm done. Let me see. This right here are pictures of trail crossing. Just three intersections. So that's getting done at other locations, and hopefully we'll.
Connie, why do you think that there's this when the city knows how much activity's been going on at the Monon? Is this just?
It's easier for them to do something in a new trail than it is to go and retrofit. So they have funding for the nickel plate trail, and they can add this to their money. They don't have dedicated funding for it.
Well, you may be aware of this, I don't know who's paying for it, whether it's Hamilton County or Marion County, but the nickel plate building a bridge across 96th Street.
Yeah, that's Fisher's.
They're gonna start that like real soon.
Yeah, that is Fisher's. So the nickel plate also, so the nickel plate has funding for a bridge at 82nd in the nickel plate, which we also, BGI has been advocating for since day one. Because that intersection, if you think of the Monon and how busy it is, 82nd and the nickel plate is 100 times worse because they're putting people in front of a gas station right by an interstate intersection to get. So, that bridge is scheduled for getting funding in 2029. I would rather see the Monon 86th be in 2029 and that bridge be in 2030. But that's where it is at this point. There's also a crossing on Keystone with the nickel plate, and that bridge was recommended for funding for 2027. There's also some funding that is going to be, or something is going to be done along 86th Street, along the whole 86th Street corridor from west side of Indianapolis to east side. I don't remember the timing of it. Do you know what the timing of it? Is it 2027 or 2026 or something? It's like all of the stoplights are going to be replaced and upgraded.
One last comment, I'm not a civil engineer, but I would imagine tunnels are astronomically more expensive than bridges.
They were the same when there was a study done, because that intersection has high voltage power lines making a rectangle around it. So in order to get the bridge up there, you have to like move those up another 90 feet or move them, either one. And that's just as expensive as tunneling under. But I think the NDMPO has decided that it's going to be a bridge.
Two points, questions. one, I'd like to see a tunnel under 86th Street on the Monon, because it provides a better grade, you don't have that steep rise going over 86th Street. And secondly, a tunnel will be more visually pleasing as well. It sounds like maybe the tunnel's already been ruled out on the Monon.
Yeah, I don't care. I honestly don't care whether it's a tunnel or a bridge. It's up to the engineers to decide.
My second point question is, have you considered just having the Monon go straight across, keeping the alignment perfectly straight, eliminating the jog going over to the stoplights, then installing stoplights at that crossing, creating a dedicated Monon crossing? That's a short-term solution.
Yeah, I personally think that it would be safer to go straight across because you don't have all turning traffic.
That's my point, exactly.
Yeah, but you've got 3 intersections right there.
I know.
And putting another intersection, I don't think that's gonna fly, but anyway. Bill?
Well, I just want to say that it's really impressive what the work you've done. And I think, there's a good public reason to do all this work, but it's also a way to honor, right?
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Yes.
All right. I'm a new face to most of you, and an old face to some of you, and a really old face to the Monon. My name is Bill Bailey, and back in the 80s, I worked for the city and the Parks Recreation Department. I'm the guy who was doing all the bicycle stuff back there as an extra put on to my city job. I'm the guy who found the federal funding, matching funding, to buy the Monon. And I planned the Monon for about 12 years until they hired somebody, Ray, to come in and actually do the Monon. How many folks you have volunteers on this project, Connie?
We had at least 60 that just did the installation, probably had another 20 or 30 after that.
Thank you all. Back then I was doing it all by myself and nobody would listen to me. I tried to get a tunnel underneath 86th Street. I got booed out of City County Council just because it was busy. And one of the things I always wanted to do, and I'm going to shut up. One of the things I always felt like, you had an intersection, and it always was and will be a problem when you have the Monon or any rail trail crossing another street, whether it be slow or busy street. I always wanted to make an accent by raising up the corridor so that if you hit it, you knew you hit it. Or you make a dip and make them, but you need to slow them down. Now, I don't know if signs and paint on the street will do that. I don't think so. Carmel, I noticed, is now beginning to curve their sidewalks a little bit more as you go over them. So maybe we should think about that too, because signs and paint just doesn't do it. I'm sorry. But anyway, thank you. You're achieving what always needed to be done. And I'm always worried about this intersection. This is one of my intersections I hated. And hopefully in a couple of years, thank you, Connie, I might be able to sleep well at night because of this, which would be really nice. It would be. Thank you all for doing what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you for starting it.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, so we're going to celebrate now because we've done a lot of work over the last couple of years. And we have a light maybe at the end of the tunnel, maybe in 2030, that there might be a bridge. But, there is a lot of work still yet to be done. So we're going to celebrate now. I will celebrate when I can walk or ride my bike over the bridge. Thank you very much for coming.
We have food, we eat all of it, and then